So maximum approval, nobody really knows what it is. And I've been talking about this for a while. I'm actually close to it. I'm not there yet. I'm still trying to hit that. Sometimes I go away on vacation and my product sales kind of tank for a week or two, and that actually hurts me. So maximum, I've been trying to do this for a while with books, not just textbooks, but like free and cheap books that I get off like Craigslist, for example. If you're interested in how to actually go about doing this, the easiest and the cheapest way, check out my books playlist and my book reselling playlist. I talk about it a lot in there. A lot of those videos in that playlist talk about maximum approval, or some of them do, and it will give you, viable, actual, tangible ways that you can go about trying to get that yourself the cheapest and the quickest, okay? So maximum approval is believed to be selling 2,000 units in a 6-month period, which roughly equates to about 11 plus units a day, 12 to be safe, for a consistent 6-month period, okay? And obviously without any major issues, right? So like any bad ratings or any A to Z claims or anything like that for the most part. So you need to keep your seller metrics up, and you need to sell roughly 2,000 units in a 6-month period. By doing this, you're basically showing Amazon that you have the ability to sell top brands and high quality items with customer satisfaction, okay? The second way is to order from, like we're talking about here, is to order from an accepted manufacturer or supplier of that brand in 10 plus quantity units, okay? So this is the most common way, obviously, although to get Ungated for top brands like Nike, Adidas, etc., you would actually need to identify who a top supplier of that brand is and then order from them and use that invoice to get Ungated, okay? I personally don't know of any of these myself, and chances are that most people don't. And anybody that, does know is not going to tell you or me who their manufacturer is and who their supplier is of that brand that's getting them Ungated, okay? Because they're not going to want any competition on that. They have monopoly on the market and they have great margins on it. So they're not going to, create competition on that product and drive their margins down and create competition on that brand to other sellers, excuse me, to drive that product down and that brand down. Little breather there, get a little sip. But that's basically the second way, okay? The third way is to simply get an authorization letter, and like you've already alluded to, this is probably the most hard for, unless you're dealing with like a top brand, then you, especially like Nike, for example, you need the actual brick and mortar store. That's why companies like, Foot Locker or Finish Line have deals with them set up where they can actually sell those, because they do have those brick and mortar stores, okay? But chances are, me and you, even if like you set up like a warehouse or something like that, you won't be able to get an authorization letter from Nike to sell those brand name products, okay, on Amazon, okay? So the third way, like we said, is to get an authorization letter from a brand authorizing you to sell their products on Amazon. And to get this, you'd most likely need a larger retail store and an agreement with that brand, okay? In my experience, and what I've been led to believe by other people that I network with as well that sell a lot more than me, it's extremely rare and probably out of reach for 99.9% of people and normal sellers like you and me, okay? Even if you're selling a lot, it does not matter, okay? They want specific agreements set up with specific companies and specific sellers. Even if you've proven that you're selling well and you have great metrics, it's going to be very, very difficult to get an agreement from a top brand like Nike, for example, right? Adidas is a little bit easier, but still very, very rare, okay? Now, if you do, for example, because you can go on YouTube and you can see a lot of different people that are selling these things and it looks like it's easy. In my experience, if you see someone selling this type of brand or this type of inventory, then chances are they got grandfathered in, which basically means that they were selling that brand before Amazon put a restriction on it. Maybe I think it was 8 to 10 years ago now, maybe a little bit less than that. It might have been 5 or 6. But at a certain time period in the past, Amazon put that restriction on it. I don't know if they actually set that up specifically with a brand like Nike, but there was a time period, let's say 5 to 8 years ago roughly, where Amazon put a restriction on selling top brands like that. And the people that got grandfathered in were already selling those products and those brands and selling them well. So obviously they got grandfathered in, that's what that means, and now they're still able to sell it because when Amazon put the restrictions in place, they didn't restrict the accounts that were selling them and selling them well currently, right? So for people like you and me that haven't been selling them for 6 years, obviously now it's practically, it's very, very rare, okay? Or they purchased an account that was already Ungated for it or grandfathered in or had an agreement set up, and they bought, that business, right? Or they purchased that account. Now, you're not technically allowed to purchase an Amazon seller account, but if you purchase a business, little workaround or caveat, if you purchase a business that owns that seller account, that is a legal workaround that's within the Amazon terms of service. So they did one of those two things, either that they got grandfathered in, or they purchased a business that owned that seller account, or they even purchased a seller account, against terms of service or whatever. So they either did one of those two things, or they did one of the other three things above, which we talked about, which is maximum approval, ordering 10 plus quantity from a reputable manufacturer that you know of, or getting an authorization letter and an agreement from that seller, okay?